Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Fem Tell All podcast. My name is Madison Bellissimo.
And I'm Ruth Devereaux.
And we're so happy you're here.
As always.
As always, we did just eat a St. Patrick's donut, so that helps.
Yes.
We jacked. I won't speak for you. I'll speak for myself.
I feel jacked, but not in that way.
Not as intensely. That's okay.
Yes.
Well, today we're going to be covering a fun subject.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yes. So the question is love a feeling or a choice? Heavy, but fun.
Heavy, but hopefully fun. Cut to 30 minutes. We're all crying.
Do you remember How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days? And
Yes.
she's like, upbeat, but upbeat.
Yeah, no, truly. I love How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. That movie makes me believe love is a feeling and not a choice. Not to segue. That was a bad segue. But
So that's what you're going with? That's your decision? That's what you're sticking to?
no, because there's I'm a Libra and I see both sides. Yes. Okay. My initial feeling is that love is a feeling.
Okay.
But I also think it eventually blossoms into a choice. I think that you have to choose every day to love the person that you're with, love your family, love your friends. I think that is a choice, an active choice. However, I do think love from gate is naturally a feeling. You're getting caught up in the emotions and the hormones and all of that. And I think it is a feeling because I also have personally experienced times and seen friends, family, where they love someone they don't want to love.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm going to say it's a feeling.
Okay. So I've said on this show plenty of times, like, I feel like this is the first time I've ever been in love. And with that, as you know, like, I fell in love very quickly and very rapidly for Neil. We're almost at a year and a half into our relationship. And we haven't had like major obstacles to overcome that I would say like I had to choose to love him. But we've had conversations where we've had to like work through certain things. I've never not felt that feeling of love for him. The choice that I make every day is to show up and be the best partner, show up and have the communication. And I think that is what you need for the longevity of love. But I think when you love somebody, you make those choices without it feeling like a choice. It's like that's just what you want to do for this person.
Yeah. So you're saying you think it is a...
I think it's a feeling.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to have her say it on that. No, I'm kidding. But I think, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it is a feeling. I think, when you just meet someone, and I think with you and Neil specifically, it was so instantaneous. You were like, first of all, you were attracted to him right away. And then get a room. But then like, we have a 2-bedroom apartment. But yeah, I think that was so instantaneous.
Yeah.
And you hear so many stories of people. I really, truly believe in the lightning bolt.
I do too now. I think
I hate that I do.
I know, but it's like I would have been the exact same way before feeling what I feel now. And now it's just like I want to shake people and be like, it's so simple when it's the right person. It's so easy. And like, I'm not saying relationships are easy because all of them are work, even the best of the best. Like, you have to choose to put work into it. But the knowing is easy. There's no questions. There's no like fight to be like, oh, does this person feel this way about me? It's like you both know, and it's just simple.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's how a lot of people describe it. So that's where, even though I'm like, haven't necessarily fully I felt tinges of that in past relationships.
Yeah.
I'm like, great, awesome, wonderful. And it is something that's great because it's like, once you have it, then you're great. But I think anytime you feel anything not that up until that, like anytime I go on dates with guys and I'm like, they're wonderful, but, and then I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, if I'm leaning into my beliefs of like the lightning bolt, I'm like, there ain't no lightning bolt here. Like, I think they're wonderful. Am I attracted to them? Are they lovely? Yes.
And listen, I get that also the the conflict of that, right? Because it's like you don't want to throw away a person and you're like, oh, I didn't feel this right away. And I want that like instantaneous. And I don't think everybody's love story is the same, but I do think that the element of there not being a question, that it being simple, that person not like, I think we've been raised to believe, again, especially as women, that the man that's hard to get, the man that's like struggling with his emotions,
the bad boy.
Yeah. And I look at it like any movie that we grew up with is the player in high school that falls for the nerd and now loves her more than anybody he could have ever loved before. Or like, and that's why I think that also lends itself to us women never like being like, oh, he slept with too many people, I couldn't possibly. And it's like, no, he is probably good in bed and I could possibly.
I was going to say the dating pool would be bleak if we treated the men's number as much as we treat women.
Theory.
Right?
Imagine.
If we were like, wait, you've slept with more than 6 people? Like, you'd be like, men would obsolete.
Yes.
Like,
there'd be way more lesbians in this room.
And the incels would be the running rampant. Let's not get into it. You're in. Okay, so Sorry. No.
I went off.
I love it because it is still so in tune with our topic. I want to, that was so loud, I apologize. The sugar's really hitting. I wanted to ask you, did you see Neil before you were introduced to him? Or no, you had taken classes, right?
Funny enough, my brother was showing me videos of Neil on Instagram. This mother effer decided the one video he wanted to show me was of a Halloween party where Neil was wearing a wig that was basically like a mullet and dancing around in the dark and everybody cheering around him. He's like, don't you think he's cute? I'm like, no.
Wait, I didn't know this story.
Yes. And he was like, he's like, trust me, like he doesn't photograph well, like all the women. I was like, okay. So I did see that, but I was just instantly like, no.
Because I remember when you sent, not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, but I remember you sent me his profile. So I can't remember if you had already taken his class in person. Okay.
Yes. That was the day.
So you had taken his class in person.
Yeah. It's funny. We actually just had this conversation recently too, where I was like, what were you thinking like when you first met me? And he always says like, yeah, I saw you walk in and I like leaned past my computer and was like, that's Rob's sister. Like, oh my God, like how could I even make that work?
Yeah.
And then when we actually interacted with each other, we were talking about this and I was like, I had no idea. I didn't think he thought anything because he was very business and very much like,
he was there for work.
Yeah. And he also said like he had taught himself to kind of like put that barrier up just because like he didn't want any like members thinking anything.
Of course.
And he's like, I definitely thought it, but I wasn't like showing it. And I don't know if I ever told you this either. One of the classes that I took with him, he was trying to teach me how to kick a bag. And I was wearing socks because I needed a pedicure and I didn't want him to see my feet without a pedicure. And I tried to kick up and I slipped, like spun and fell on my butt.
You did not tell me this. I did not know this. That's so sweet though.
Yeah.
I know in the moment you were like, I couldn't be more embarrassed in my life. Yeah. But like as an outsider, you know, it's like, and also when you see a guy embarrassed, like when you've seen maybe Neil embarrass himself in front of you, you're not like, ooh, you know, you're usually like,
oh baby.
Yeah. I think I always find it cute when guys get like flustered. I'm like, I can hear it in your voice.
Yeah.
No, I'm like, you're
sweet.
good.
Yeah.
You're good. That's so cute. Okay. I was asking about that because, you know, you hear stories about people getting together that it's like they saw that person walk into the bar and they were like, that's it.
Yeah. I didn't have that. Like I definitely, but I told him too, is like, I knew a lot of girls in the class liked him. And so like, I was like, he's a whore.
Yeah. Well, that deters you anyway.
Yeah, totally. And so I was like, I'm not even like going to press that. Like I can admire from afar, but not really think anything of it. But I don't think I really, and we said I love you quite early on too. But I don't think I really felt it until we were like chatting. And even then I was just like, oh, I really like this guy. And then our first date when we had like deep conversation, I think when you really see who a person is and you're like, I really like this guy.
Totally.
And then we went on a couple more dates, and then he asked me to be his girlfriend. And then it was around Christmas time. We were doing like a team workout with like his like core team. And it was the first time I'd been around everybody, and I was so nervous.
Yeah.
And I'd been in situations like that with other people where it's like of course, they're so comfortable with these people, like you feel like kind of left alone.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so attentive the entire time. And we're working out, and like at one point he came over to me, and my heart's racing because like we're working out, and he puts his hand on my chest and he goes, "My heart." And at that moment, I wanted to just like scream it at him. I was like, "I love you." Like it was just such a sweet moment, and it was just like his caringness in that environment too, and everything that kind of led up to that moment. That was like the moment for me. I was like, "I love this person."
Yeah. So it was truly a feeling for you. Mm-hmm. There wasn't any active choice there.
I didn't have
if
to
anything,
choose to.
yeah, I was like, you didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
It sounds like almost like you.
Yeah.
See, I'm gonna make her cry.
I know, seriously.
I love you so much, but it's true. I think sometimes you don't have a choice. Yeah. I think about my parents all the time, and my dad. Take this with a grain of salt. He's a ham and a half. Like he tells stories. He's such a good storyteller and everything. That's like the core of who he is. And he talks about meeting my mom for the first time, and it being he had a fiance that had passed away before meeting my mom, and pretty tragic events in his life where he was like, "I'm never gonna love again," and he swears to this day. And I just choose to believe it. I don't want to believe any other story or any other version of it. But he always says that he like saw my mom and he was like, "Oh, that's her." Oh. And he like truly had a like, "Oh, I'm fucked" moment. He said he said that to his guy friends. So he was at the bar. He was like, "Oh, I'm fucked." And they were like, "What? What's wrong?" And he was like, "I'm that woman is the one for me. Like I'm gonna marry that girl."
And he hadn't even spoken to her at that point.
He says that. Is it true? I don't know.
Yes, it is true.
I choose to believe it, and it helps me sleep at night. But yeah, it's such a beautiful story, and he really he stands by that, and just watching their relationship grow over the years. Obviously, they're my parents, so it's not as objective. I can't just like completely outside scope.
I think it's actually better that way because like they're never gonna be in any like they're not putting up a facade at all for you guys. Like you guys are such a close-knit family. You're seeing their all interactions at like the purest form, and you're seeing the good and the bad and the ups and the downs, and like there's still such strong love. Like they're never gonna be the couple in the restaurant like on their phones. Like, and that's after 30 plus years of marriage. Like that's what I think everybody should strive for and what we all want. And like I think they're just living proof you can have that.
Totally.
I would love to actually know their answer to that question.
Yeah, I would love to hear too. I think, and it's like 38 years, I think they've been married. So they've been together longer than that. And I think that they would say there's choices that they make every day. But I think both of them, like my mom obviously has the like side of it where they've been married 30 something years, where my dad can be a little frustrating and she's like, "I'm going to kill him." And I'm like, "I won't say shit." I'm like, I didn't hear anything. No, but I love both of them. And, but then there's one thing that my mom always says, and she always gives the same look where she's like, "But I love him." And that is so not a choice. That is so my mom being like, "I'm so fucked. Like I will love this man for the rest of my days," and she always has. And she loved him so early on too. They were they had kind of a tumultuous back and forth when they first started dating. And I think about that a lot because I think that's why I think I give shots to guys a lot more. Or if it's not a perfect fit, I'm like, but they could still be like mom and dad, where like my mom threw a rock through my dad's window. And,
girls got to do what a girl's got to do.
There were some trials and tribulations, but they always, the constant was that their affection and their love for each other.
And they were drawn to each other.
Oh, yeah. That is indescribable. Like they truly still to this day, it's like magnets. They really are drawn to each other. And that is something beautiful to witness. But yeah, I mean, I think there's still active choices that you make every day, but I genuinely stand by. I don't think it is a choice to love someone. I think you can, if we're piggybacking on one of our last episodes about when you're feeling lonely and you choose to be with someone. I think that can be a choice to love.
That's a choice.
That's when
But that's not love in my opinion.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think that there's levels to like. I think there's levels to commitment. I think being committed to somebody is very different from loving them. I think that there's a lot of people that have a beautiful commitment to each other because they've just like been through so much together.
Totally.
But maybe don't love each other. And I don't neither here to say like that's right or wrong.
Yeah.
Everybody has their choice in the type of relationship they want to lead. But if you're thinking of the essence of love and like that, I think if you even describe love, it's not an action. It's not a choice. It's like if you describe the word love, it's feelings.
Yeah. I think about, there's so many aspects to this where I think about arranged marriages too that are still ongoing. But you hear about, especially the older generation that were arranged marriages, that like they developed a love for each other. And I think originally it was a choice. And I think I don't think you need to have the feeling from gate. And I'd be curious to hear what you think about that, because I think in that scenario, among others, but that's a specific one I can think of, it was a choice to love each other at first, and maybe more in a platonic love, and then you can develop into the feeling. Do you feel like it's something that you can choose later on? Or like, you can choose and then feel later on? Yeah,
I think you can choose and feel later on. I think this comes back to our episode where it talks about women like falling for guys and seeing them differently if they treat them in a certain way. So even if it's an arranged marriage and you know nothing about this person, but then you spend like a decade together and you guys are constantly serving each other, how would you not love that person?
I can imagine it. I get like attached to anyone that's in my life. So I feel like if I was in an arranged marriage, even if I like hated the person, I think you grow to love them. You know, you grow to love them in some degree.
Absolutely.
I want to hear
I used to tell my mom, I was like, when I was like single like years and years ago, I was like, if I ain't finding anybody, let's revert back to Korea rules.
Which would be
arranged marriage.
Okay. I just wanted to spell it out for us. I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah. Wow. They always, you know, what's interesting now that I'm getting older, as we do. I think
we can never
we all get older.
Here's the best thing about our friendship. You'll never be older than me.
That's true. That's true. That is something that's very convenient for me.
Peace in being around me.
That is very convenient for me. But but I will say there's nothing wrong with aging though. Like it's a luxury that we get to age. So
absolutely.
I will say though, I think about it more and more when I'm like, Jesus Christ, why can't I just meet someone that like is chill and like easy to work with? I go back to a lot of the time, like your people being able to recommend. They always say, like, especially when you're getting set up later in life, it's like the people that are in your life that know you the best. Sometimes they're the best people to recommend someone to you. And I go back to that a lot. I'm like, hey, friends, why don't you set me up with someone? No, I'm
knew
kidding.
Anybody that deserved you, I would.
That's very sweet. I'm also half kidding.
I still want to go to Cheesecake Factory and you see the manager there.
She went to Cheesecake Factory the other day, and she said that the manager was so cute that she wants me to go.
Yeah.
We don't know nothing about this
lunch
man.
There.
We know nothing about this man. We're not going to Cheesecake Factory. We're going to leave the poor man alone at work. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I wanted to ask your opinion on where you feel like you can use Neil again, but moments in time in your life where you were like, oh, this is so inherently a feeling and not a choice because I didn't choose this life, but I love this person so deeply. And that could be familial. That could be romantic. That could be
my entire family. No.
You love your family.
No, I do. If
I'm sorry, it's just funny. You love your family.
I do. I adore my family.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking of relationships, or I've had probably more friendships that I feel like I've been hurt by and still chose to be friends with people because I truly cared about them so deeply.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that, at least for me in my past, like I think that I'm harder on my romantic partners than I am on my friendships. that are probably majority.
Yeah.
Are women. And I feel I can be softer with women because I feel like I can I have more grace for them. And I know this about myself, and I know that I'm harsher on my romantic partners and I expect more from them. I'm aware of that. I'm working on it. But for my friends, I think that I'm a lot more, I give more grace, but that's also put me into some situations where I've allowed people to stay in my life that did not deserve it.
Yeah.
Because I cared for them so much.
Yeah. And that would be a feeling instead of, because you're like.
What about you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think I'm trying to think of the most like palpable love that I've experienced where I feel like with my ex, definitely the most recent not long term, but like most recent ex that had cheated and all that stuff. I feel like I truly loved him. And that's weird to say because like I think a lot of my principle that I stand on, I feel like would be automatically like, well, how could you love someone that could hurt you like that? And I think walking away from it, once I knew everything, it really was easy to
separate from that.
Like I wasn't in love with him anymore. It was a very quick fix as far as that. But I will say in hindsight, reflecting on the relationship a lot of the time, I'm like, wow, I don't think I realized the depth at what I loved him until after, because I feel like I had to shut it off pretty quickly after expressing it to him. So I think that is something that was so inherently a feeling, especially because I wasn't interested in him at first. And I know we've said that. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but I'm saying that solidifies that for me because it was the time spent with him. It was the relationship that we had created together as friends first, where love was able to bloom there. And I felt really safe and I felt really cared for. And I think it was not what I was expecting nor what I wanted at the time, especially. And it still happened so aggressively. And I never second guessed it. Like similar to your experience with Neil. And obviously this is a different scenario because not all of it was truth, but I think so much of it was just not even, there was no question about it. Like I literally was just like, oh yeah. And I love him. And
the way he presented himself and the way he presented the relationship, I think if he presented himself authentically and that truly was him, of course you would love that person.
Yeah.
Because like it was clear to all of us around you, like, oh, this person really cares about her. He really is dedicated to this relationship and she feels the same about him. And like, that should have been love. Yeah. And I think that's the hardest part of it is like what should have been, what could have been, and then a person being completely opposite,
dishonest or and obviously we don't have the luxury of knowing what was real and what was fake, in hindsight even. But I do think about that a lot because it wasn't a question, and I agree. I don't blame myself at all for the love that I gave him or the love that I ended up feeling towards him. If anything, I feel like I'm really proud of myself for feeling love or being open to love at that time, especially when I was like getting out of another relationship soon prior to that. But yeah, I think in some ways it's really comforting because I'm thinking to myself like, wow, okay, it's possible. Like you can feel so deeply for someone, even if it's a couple months or whatever. And you can care for them so deeply, but it also is scary because I feel like I didn't have a choice in it, and like on the back end, you obviously want to protect yourself, even if it's in hindsight. You want to be like, well, I didn't really care about them. They were nothing to me, whatever that. I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people get out of especially horrible relationships and go, well, they never meant anything to me or like anything, something to that iteration. And I just unfortunately can't have that. I can't have that outlook with him. I even though there's so many strong feelings that I have towards this person as far as how horrible another human can treat another, at the end of the day, I'm like, the love I experienced with him was so truthful, in my opinion, in my experience. And it was so innate. It wasn't something that I was like, hey, do you think I'm going to love this person today?
No.
Let me show up and it was like everything. And even the actions that I feel like I went through were so.
We're connected because like you had that feeling.
Yeah.
It beget the
100%.
action. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I was caught myself because I don't know if I want to share this, but I'll share it anyway because I feel like it will help some people. But I was thinking to myself the other day because I had such a strong love with my longest term relationship. He was my best friend. Like, I truly have so much love for him still. I hope he's good. I'm always curious if he watches this. But I had such a strong and deep bond with him. And we were together for so long that love was so palpable for so long. And, you know, all of that. So he's been my like greatest love in my life so far. Yeah. But it's interesting. I was reflecting because I'm still healing. The healing journey is not linear with being cheated on and dealing with that. But I was thinking to myself the other day, and I was talking to my mom, and when I reflect, I'm like, I don't think I loved anyone like I loved him. Yeah. And that is so scary to think because you're like, what? The person that was like being dishonest, the person, and sometimes it can be a toxic relationship. Yeah. Sometimes in that case, I didn't know. I didn't know.
And like I said, the way he presented himself and the love you did feel and the actions you did see, you should have felt that.
Yeah. It was honest for me, you know? And I think my ego really resents that fact. And there's a lot of me, like the inner world inside of me that's like, oh, that's so disgusting. Like, I can't believe you could love someone that treated you like that. Or like, and obviously it's not I'm not still loving him, you know, but like when I reflect back to the feelings I had for him and how they manifested and how I was interacting with him on the daily. And I think the depth that I understood it too, like I think my first love with my first relationship was so deep and we learned so much about each other and none of it felt even like freshman-esque, you know, and it didn't feel like, oh, we're so young. And so many people were like, this is your first love. And I was like, shut the fuck up. It's like, I think I've loved before. You know, I was like, it's different with him, you know? And I think now this second round of where I told the person I love them, because I think I've had experiences where there's been love in relationships before, not necessarily in love, but like love for sure. Of course. And I just don't. Yeah, I can't equate anything to the massive love that I felt for him when I was in that relationship. And in some ways it's really terrifying. In some ways it's really exciting. Yeah. Then I think like if I loved that person like that and he wasn't meant for me for a slew of reasons, the next person that is meant for me, that feeling, that's not a choice, would be so astronomical. Yeah.
Especially imagine that feeling and it
being reciprocated.
It was reciprocated is the problem. Like that, it really was.
I'm like, jury's out.
No, I think it was in the version that we were presented with. Like what I saw, what your family saw, what your other friends saw. Like it was love, and we talked about this recently, but like the fear, like I just don't want you to equate that with fear because like I don't want when you do find that love and you experience that feeling again, I don't want your mind to go to like
we've been here before. Yeah, I totally agree.
But outside of that, like not even that, like that intensity that you felt, that real love, that real compassion, that real like connection, and then like elongating that over like a period of time where like you're able to open up to this person, you're able to build a life together with them, and we build friendships with like your next partner too, and like our community just grows bigger and bigger, and like that's in your future, and like I'm so excited for you to find that, and I know you're like me. I know that feeling is going to be innate in you. I think you will have that lightning bolt moment. Maybe it won't be like with him walking in a door,
sure,
but there will be that intensity. I think so. I really do. Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, I'm definitely a hopeless romantic in that way. I think you can do a lot to this woman. You can't beat the like sure belief in love. I think that is something that I've always had.
Charlotte.
Yeah, I am a little Charlotte.
From Sex and the City.
Yeah, it's true in that way. And I think it's a slew of reasons. I think I've always been like this. I think it's also experiencing my parents so deeply in love at all times. And I was so lucky to experience that. So I think it's never been a question if love is real to me. And I think obviously I've had more questioning of that in the later years, but that doesn't mean it's questioned. Or like it's in question. But yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm hopeful. I'm excited, but I'm, it is extending yourself to love is to be vulnerable too.
Which is scary sometimes.
Scary. Yeah.
I mean, even for me being in love, sometimes I catch myself holding back because I'm like, oh, do I say this? And like I've had to like force myself to have conversations that maybe I wouldn't have normally had in the past. I would have been like, I'm gonna internalize this and I'm coming for you later.
You'll be seeing me. Yeah, totally.
But now it's more so like it doesn't matter. Like we approach it head on, we deal with that. But those are the choices you make in love.
Yes.
Those are the actions that you take in love to maintain and to continue to grow. Like, but I don't think that's love.
Yeah.
I think those are actions that like
to maintain it.
Yeah, to maintain it. Like I never want to be that couple not talking at a restaurant. I never want to be that couple being like, oh, here's the old ball and chain. Like I'm not really
divorce.
I'm like,
Grounds for divorce.
But I think like in wanting that, you have to work for it.
I agree.
And I'm sure your parents worked for it for
100%
over and over.
They still work for it. But I think I've never felt like their love was a chore. Yeah. Witnessing it. I've never.
See, that's beautiful.
It is. I'm so lucky.
Yeah.
I know that. And I really am thankful for that day in and day out because it is such a beautiful example.
Gorgeous. And the fact that you've never seen that, never even felt that, where so many people use that as comedic relief in relationships, especially long-term ones like that. It's so great to hear and know that you've witnessed that.
Yeah, they're both so devoted to each other, and it's beautiful to witness. And it's funny, back to what you were saying about being fearful. I think a lot of people, if love was a choice, they would choose not to. I feel like a lot of people are so terrified of love and like what the requirement of love, like whether we like to admit it or not. You're bearing your chest. You're actually airing out all of the fucking demons.
You took me to like back to the beginning of my relationship with Neil, and because this was like the first time I had something I really didn't want to lose. I was so fucking scared. I was so scared. I'm like, what if he doesn't feel like he says this? What if he doesn't feel the way that I do? What if he like sees a part of me that he's not going to like, and then he's gone and like I've lost something, and I had always distanced myself in relationships where I'm like, yeah, if you go, you go. Bye. Like I'm fine. Yeah. That when I was finally in a position where I'm like, I don't want to lose this. That is the scariest, terrifying feeling.
Totally. I agree.
Looking forward to that.
Awesome. Great. Can't wait.
Come join the party.
I was going to bring up another avenue. It's the same thing to me of love being a feeling. And I know you've witnessed it because we've talked about this. And this is something I'm more recently witnessing, is a love for a family member that is not yours, technically. Your niece, for example, you love her so much. It's so beautiful. You have your matching tattoo, and Alyssa's so amazing. I've met her and she's wonderful.
She's incredible. She's the most amazing human being that has ever existed.
Do you see that love? That was just like, that came out like it was not a big phrase. So you just were like, and I drank coffee today. That was the simplicity that you said that. And you just said she's the most amazing human being. What did you say?
Most amazing human being that's ever existed. And I believe that through and through. And like, to me, so when my sister was pregnant with Alyssa, we didn't know if she was having a boy or a girl. And I remember my mom sending me home from the hospital because like Alyssa was taking a while. I had to go to school the next day. And I was about to get up for school, and my mom walked in the door, and she walks into my bedroom and she goes, "It's a girl." And it was the first time I cried tears of joy.
Yeah.
And just seeing this little baby, she was so fucking cute and so full of like, I remember telling one of my girlfriend's moms at the time, I was like, I don't think I can ever have my own kids because I can't imagine loving anything as much as I love her.
Yeah.
And she's like, you will. Like when you have your own, you'll feel that.
If you, yeah.
Yeah. But like, I like it, this instantaneous, overwhelming, dedicated feeling of love for this little chunk of meat.
It's true.
Which I know you're feeling now too.
Oh, I am. It hits me like a fucking ton of bricks every time I see this baby.
Yeah.
I am so in love with him, and to the point where I'm the like needy fucking aunt that kisses him. He's only 8 months now, but like the amount of kisses I give him. It's literally like you can tell, and he's even like, girl, please. Like you can tell he's like, even as a baby, he's like, I get it.
You and love me.
I just can't stop. I like literally, it's a jerk reaction. I'm just like kissing him all the time, hugging him. I just like hold him. I'll hold him, even if he's like not necessarily needing to be held. Like he could be crawling around playing. I just pick him up because I'm like, I just want to hold him.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. I find myself, and I've felt this in relationships too before, where you just, like you said, that moment where Neil put the hand over your heart and you just wanted to scream, I love you. Because it's just like you're so bursting strong. At the seams.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm holding this baby at least 4 times a day. I'm like, I just look at him. I don't know if he can understand me. He's already getting 2 languages thrown at him every day. And I just go, I don't think you understand how much I love you. I say that to him all the time. I'm always like, I just don't think you know how much I love you, you know? And he's just like, and I'm just like, I don't think I'll ever love anything more, you know? And I agree with that feeling. I'm sure parenthood, obviously we can't speak on it. I can't imagine like if this is the level that I feel for my nephew.
I know.
Best believe.
Yeah, my heart would explode.
Oh,
I don't even know how you...
Literally, I would not be able to carry on.
I know.
Like the Grinch that his heart grew. I mean, like my heart is 10 times the size. They'd be like, get this woman into surgery.
Yeah.
Because it's true. Like I just look at him. We look at him and we laugh because the whole family does it now too, and he's obviously the first grandchild, so he's the golden boy. He's like the chosen one.
But he is also the golden boy.
Yeah,
he's perfect.
Yeah, he really is. And we all just stare at him and we laugh. We're like, it's like a fireplace. You can just like, you can just enjoy, and he's just not doing anything.
Yeah,
and you're just like, wow, like he's just so special and so significant in my life. And I've only had him for 8 months in my life. And half of that, I've been with him in person. It hasn't even been the entirety of not even less than that. So I can't even imagine. That is something that was a feeling that was thrust upon me. And I was so excited during their whole pregnancy and all that, you know, and I knew that I was going to love him like no other. But not until I held him and I met him for the first time. I was like, it was so innate. And it was not a choice. Yeah. Like, me and my sister were laughing last night. We were like, oh yeah, I would kill for this child. And we were like, I would give up my life if someone floated down from the earth and was like, listen, so Aurelio needs to live, so you gotta die. Yeah. I'd be like, listen, Mom, it's been great. Noah, Ruth, Mac, you're real ones. I love you guys. Peace. Yeah. It's been nice. Yeah. I'd be like, there would be no question. Yeah. And that's crazy to me. Yeah. But that is that's I feel
true love though. That's like love at its purest form. That's why when they say like parents, they're like, you never experience but that's love.
Yeah.
And like, you don't have a choice in that. Like you do, like as Aurelio gets older, there's going to be times where he might talk back or he might like make bad decisions and you might not like what he says or does or wears or whatever that is.
Yeah.
But you will always love him.
Yeah.
And that won't be the choice. Like what you will choose to do is how you interact or how you respond to different activities or how you be the best like support system for him. But that won't change that feeling.
I totally agree. It's crazy. It's crazy experiencing it. I wanted to talk to you about how you feel choices can manifest both positively and negatively. If we're leaning into, say we're playing devil's advocate and we're going like, well, it's a choice, you know. Where are ways that you feel like people that love you that don't show it, like how they could actively choose to love you better? And then
I don't know why my dad came to my head. I'm like, I got some lists for
Yeah.
you.
Well, in all fairness, your dad came to mind too. Knowing your past,
That's so
like
funny,
it's
yeah.
true. It came,
Yeah.
and and even that, and then like also maybe let's spin it. And I would like to think of some positive choices that you feel like you've either done or you've witnessed in your love, where you feel like you're like that was an active choice of love.
Yeah. So I will use my dad as an example here because my dad is all about the lip service when he is around of like, I love you, I love you, I love you. Granted, I haven't seen him for a couple of years now, but like the times that I do have interacted with him in the past, it's very much these words and like these, not even promises. It's like he almost felt like his title granted him like what
Access to you.
access and like also like I was supposed to do for him as like I don't know like I can't
As
even
his daughter.
yeah and so I would say and like coming back to like even like the love that we feel for our niece and nephew and like I talk to like even like my stepbrother and like how he's a parent and we always go how a parent
could someone disconnect like that?
yeah like so much so I think that acts of love require consistency. They require honesty. Consistency and honesty, and then like time too. I think those are three components that like you can't feel love without them.
Yeah. I agree.
What do you think?
And I think especially in parenthood. Yeah, I think receiving that from a parent. I think so often you witness children wanting attention, and that would be that time thing. That would be, so many times when I feel like I see children, young adults rebelling against their parents. I feel like that's a lack of honesty a lot of the time because so many parents are like, do as I say, not as I do, and I think a lot of parents aren't open and honest with their kids about the things that they've done in their past, whether that be drug use or whether that be like adultery or that be like sleeping outside of marriage if you come from religious families, things like that. I think when parents out of love try to protect their kids by saying like, don't do that. Oh my God, you can't do that. You have to do this. You have to do this. And they don't come at it with like, and I've learned from my mistakes or learned from my mistakes. This is what I did. Yeah. And it greatly impacted me because of A, B, and C. Yeah. If it's just a like, don't do it. Why? Because I said so.
Yeah.
I think that is a lack of honesty. Obviously, like I think the reason I didn't rebel a lot as a high schooler is both of my parents were very open about their drug use. I'm being honest, like dead ass. Like my dad was like, "You want to know about drugs?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Well, if you ever have any questions," and I feel like I remember one day he would every Sunday he would make Italian dinner for us. He would make some kind of sauce or eggplant or something like that, and he'd be cooking and I'd just be like hanging out in the kitchen with him talking. And I remember like feeling like I'm going to get him. He's not going to share. And I remember being like, "So have you done cocaine?" He was like, "Yeah." And I was like, I just remember being like so like startled in my tracks. And I was like a couple times. He was like, "No, I did a lot." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And then he told me about it. And I was like, "What was it like?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Did you do anything else?" He's like, "Oh, 100%. I was like, "Acid?" He was like, "Yes." And I was like, like the child was too stunned to speak, and I remember, but that kind of, and he didn't even do it to scare me. He told me his experience and I went, heard, never fucking doing that.
But I love that though. I think that they even say that there's more kids that drink alcohol in America because it's so like, oh, not till you're 21. Don't touch this. Don't talk about it. Like you're not allowed to. Like having that, like it didn't feel like it was so off limits. Like you got to like hear about his experience and make your own decision. Yeah. And then if you did decide like, hey, I might want to try this, you could come to him and talk to him about
100%.
You would know how to limit that. Whereas like if it's a secret and you're hiding it and it's like this like taboo thing, like you're more likely to fall into the negative space of that.
I agree. Yeah. And take sex as an example. I mean, so many, especially women, but all all people are taught to like not explore their sexuality. And I think it is hard as a parent. You know, I'm not saying it would be like, just fucking talk to your kids about sex. I get that it's like a hard subject.
Sure, yeah.
But we need to destigmatize it because I think that's where a lot of people rebel and then they end up.
Did your parents talk to you about sex?
Yes, they did. Yeah. But I will say, I will say they didn't talk as much as I would. You know, my dad went, no, fucking no, I'm not talking to her about that. You know, my mom talked to me about it. My dad would never talk to me about sex. That's where his shortcomings come in. You know,
he deals with the drug situation. Your mom deals
He was like, Meg, talk to her. You know? But I will say, like, one thing, I actually just brought this up at like we did a girlfriend night like for Galentine's, and they were like, we were playing a game and it was like, what is a secret you never told your mom? And I started laughing because it was like, literally my poor mother, I've not kept a detail out. I was like, this woman is probably like, you don't need to tell me all that. I don't need to know. And I tell her everything. So sorry for anyone that's dated me. But like literally, not like in excruciating detail, but she knows everything. And I remember I told my mom, funny enough, we're not religious. And at the age of like 14, I remember she was driving me home one day from school. And I was like, you know, I've thought about it. I'm going to save it until marriage. And she was like, you know, I could just tell she's like driving like, oh God. And I was like, you know, I think, you know, if you're in love with someone, it's called making love. So why wouldn't you be in love to make love? And I was like giving her the fucking gospel. I'm not even religious. No one was even
also
like.
never had sex before and like really breaking it down to your mother.
Like, you don't get it. Harlot, you don't get it. You know, I was like talking to her. And then she so sweetly, so respectfully, it's true. I swear to God, this is a true story. I was like, yeah, you know, I've been thinking about it. And I knew she wasn't going to judge me either way. Like I knew I was just like, I just should keep her updated. Yeah. She doesn't need to worry about me sleeping around in high school, you know. Don't worry, Mom. I'm saving myself. And I remember she just so sweetly, and she didn't like stare at me. You know, she's driving and she was like, okay, that's interesting. And she was like, well, I think you should do whatever you want, you know. And then I remember she said, I'm going to be honest with you. I do think you should have sex before you're married. And I was like, why? Yeah. And she was like, I think it's a very integral part of relationships. And I think if you're going to marry someone, you should know what you're getting into. And I think you will benefit from that. And I was like, well, and I was just kind of like, well, maybe. I mean, I guess if I'm in love with someone, yeah, I'd probably be in love. But I don't know, you know. And I was like so defensive a little, but I was still letting her in. And then she goes, and I would also live with someone before you get married too. And I was like, Mom. And she was like, no, I'm being serious. She's like, I think you get to know your partner really well when you live with them. And I'm so glad she said that. Yeah. And it's not like I wouldn't have gotten to that point because they were so fucking progressive and liberal so early on. I would have gotten there. She just was like, this sweet, sweet girl thinks she's being morally right, you know. And most people don't get that. And I think a lot of people can't even current day talk to their parents. You know? Yeah, about their, you know, and not that you have to share every detail like I am. I'm kind of weird. Sure, yeah. But like,
so I think that's beautiful. I think that like she created a safe space for you. And even if you would have gotten there without her, you probably got there sooner.
I did.
And you probably evolved your thought process on like how you wanted to approach a relationship in a healthy way sooner because she allowed you to get to that, like that step. In that way, yeah. And
to your earlier point, because she broached the subject with me, I knew when I was having my first of like, oh shit, I'm going to lose my virginity. You know, like I felt like I could automatically come to her. Nothing would be beautiful. Off the table.
I love that.
And I feel like it created such a safer space for my sexuality. And yeah, I think a lot of parents don't do that.
I think I agree with you. And I think that there's like this archetype of what like a parent's supposed to be. Yeah. And it's very much like, I think people, like everybody has their own opinion of it. And like, you should be the parent that you want to be. But like, I think there's like supposed to be like this like separation between kid and parent. And like, I understand like you can't be just a friend, especially when you're in different, like a younger stage where you have to like reprimand and everything like that. But I think there should be some semblance of friendship within that relationship.
Yeah, camaraderie. Yeah. I think so too. I think that's a choice, right? That you're making. I think it's a choice to completely cut yourself off. And I think I hear about some friends that have parents that like, they don't know anything about their parents' past life. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I know all my mom's ex-boyfriends' names. You know? I'm like, how's Ron? You know, like, and but it's not. It's a joke. You know, it's like because my parents give each other shit about it because they can, because it's cute and
it's been almost 40 years.
And they're not jealous. But like my dad will be, you know, my mom will talk about the girl that he dated right before her that had this little basket on her bike, and you know, I know all this shit, right? Because they like talk
fucking basket.
Yeah, she's just like that fucking basket. But I think about that because it's a choice to not separate their humanity from their parenting.
Absolutely.
And I think when you don't separate your humanity from your parenting, that is a choice of love.
Yeah.
I think that's an active choice of being like, hey, I'm imperfect and I learned a lot and you're gonna learn a lot, and I'm not gonna be a perfect parent either.
Yeah.
However,
I actually really like that because I feel like there's also, when we talk about the archetype of a parent, there's also the child's archetype of like what a dad's supposed to be, what a mom's supposed to be. And if you only conduct yourself in this place of like, oh, I've never made a mistake, I've never done this, then if the child does find out, it kind of crumbles this image that they had of you. But then they also feel like they have to aspire to be more, to be as good as you. Whereas if you align with them and say like, this is what humanity is, this is what mistakes look like, this is what lessons look like, that just creates that safe space for them.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I do too. And I think honestly, you just led me to a thought. This is off topic a little, but I think your dad, for example, where you said, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you said something around the lines of, he felt like he was entitled to certain things because of his title of being your dad.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think frankly, he has to earn that, you know?
I would completely agree with
like,
that.
I think parents in general, and even like me as an aunt, like I take high responsibility, you as well. Of like, I'm going to be as respectful to Aurelio as I can and be that confidant for him and come to him and, you know, like all that. And I think parents sometimes, that isn't an active choice where they're entitled. They feel like they're entitled to the access. They're entitled to telling you exactly what what you do and, you know, and dictating you. And I think a really good act of really obvious act of love from a parent would be like, I'm earning that. Yes, I'm your dad biologically, but I want you to be close with me as your dad. I want to be that father figure in your life. And I know that could be stripped from me if I don't do well. So let me show up. And that goes for moms, dads, parents, guardians.
Well, think even my mom, who I feel is played the role of mom and dad throughout my entire life, still shows up every day. Like still will call and just make sure I'm okay. Or if like she's worried, like we'll send money or like whatever that is. Like she just is continuously that person. Whereas like me and my sister my sisters, and I told you this, but like we've started doing a monthly call called Childhood Trauma.
That sounds like a really fun time.
It's super fun. We all get together and have a blast.
So just to clarify, you talk about your childhood trauma.
We do. We have a lot to cover.
Okay. It wasn't just a title. It's actually what
We've had 2 calls so far. Rachel led the first one. I led the second one. Becca's up next.
Nice.
But yeah, like, so the last call we just had, we touched on a lot, but like some of the things that we had been through in our childhood, like, where the dad should have shown up, should have been there, should have called at least, I guess, like, was just like the ball was dropped continuously and continuously. Like, and even to the point where this wasn't part of this conversation, but when I first moved to LA, I was like 19 years old and I'm a teenager. Like I'm a young kid and I never like really lived near my dad. So I moved 2 blocks away from him and it took him 2 to 3 months to make it 2 blocks to come see me, his teenage daughter that had just moved into town. So that's just like a small microcosm of like who he's been my entire life. Yeah. But then like probably, I don't know how many years ago now, he got sick and he was in the hospital. He had to get heart surgery and him and his wife were not on great terms at that point. And me and my sisters all showed up. Rachel flew out. We all, like, I slept at the hospital with him the night before he went into surgery. And we were like, okay, like the way he was talking, the way he was saying, like he was going to be this better person. We were like, okay,
willing to forgive.
yeah. And then after surgery and after him figuring things out with his wife, back to normal.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like I'm sorry I've taken off topic, but
apologize.
like when we're talking about, I guess that kind of love could be a choice.
Yeah.
Like you don't, maybe he doesn't feel it. Maybe something in his past won't allow him to be the father that he should be. But I think maybe at that point when you're a parent, then you make the choice.
The active choice.
To make the actions.
I agree with you because I don't think anything, and obviously I'm not your therapist. I'm not, I'm merely a friend that cares about you so much. But hearing the story, and I think anyone could objectively hear the story and be like, I don't think your dad is actively trying to be a dad that's not there.
Yeah.
However, his actions are so consistent that you can't turn a blind eye either.
Yeah.
But I think what you touched on of like maybe there's a past experience, something maybe from his childhood, something from his relationships where it quote unquote prohibits him from showing up in the way he needs to or he should as a parent.
Yeah.
He's making that active choice not to do it. And if he made active choices to just be present and maybe even if he was like, I'm being imperfect and I don't know how to love you, but I'm going to try, that'd be way different than just not doing it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's where it comes back to just like just showing up. Like I remember I was talking to my sister recently, and you never know how just showing up is going to affect somebody, especially during traumatic experiences. And my eldest sister, she lost her husband to suicide, and I went to go see her and I just hugged her. I didn't know what else to do. I just hugged her. And it was the same night it had happened. And she told me recently that in therapy, when they were like going back on like traumatic memories, she said that moment meant so much to her because like at that moment she felt okay. Like I was like with her.
There.
I didn't say anything. It's just like, it's just showing up and like being there for the people you love.
Showing them in some small way that you're there for them.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all that. And I think love, unfortunately, you still love your dad.
I don't know about that.
Maybe not.
I don't. No, I definitely don't. Like, I don't think, to me, he's a stranger. Like, I don't know anything about him. He's a person that existed in my life in the peripheral for many, many years. And I know we're connected, but I don't know who he is.
Yeah.
He's not been there for the majority of my life moments. Like, to me, he's just a person. And when I talk about the archetype where, like, I think what was a struggle for me growing up is like, oh, he's my dad. He's supposed to be my dad.
You have to.
Like, why are you not my dad? And there's just so much of this anger of like, I deserve a father.
100%.
And when I let go of that and I'm just like, no, you're a man. You're a human being. And that's who you are. You have your own childhood traumas. You have your own stuff to deal with. And you have your own choices that you have to account for. He made the choice to be the type of father he was and continues to be. And he has to accept the repercussions from that.
Yeah.
But he's just a human.
Yeah.
That happened to have sex with my mom. Like, that's it.
One of his main repercussions is not being able to have a relationship with his sensational daughters.
The worst one. I'm kidding.
It is. I think that is so inherently devastating for him. I really pity him in that way.
Yeah, I do too. Because we're fabulous.
That part.
But I have a half brother that he had prior to his marriage to my mom. And I never saw my half brother the entire time my dad was like around. And now, like as an adult, being like, well, you had a child that you weren't interacting with at that point, and now you have 3 that you're not interacting with at this point. Like, you've chosen to be that person. Like, this is just who you are.
Yeah. You've made your choice to not show up and not love. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so sorry that you go through that. No, you don't have to apologize. Literally, do not apologize for anything. I'll kill you. I won't kill you. I love you so much. But don't apologize for that. That is something that was thrust upon you. Yeah. And like, that's where I'm sure, not to bring it back, but your love and the consistency of your love with Neil probably means so much more now in your adult life.
Yeah.
As far as like, if you guys, you seeing him interact as a father figure, even at his gym.
Oh yeah. And that's why when I've spoken about abandonment issues previously and like why I am so hard on my male like relationship partners, I will not end up with a partner like my dad.
Yeah.
I will not accept that at all. I know who I've worked to build myself up to be, and I know like what I want in a relationship. And so I think that can come across as a little bit like, I'm not too hard on Neil because I don't really have to be. He shows up in the way that I need him to. But I think the times that I have had been like, oh, are you sure you're not going to leave? Are you sure you're not going to do this? It's directly related back to that. But I think that's where one of the things I'm saying consistency is like he is consistent in his actions. Like I don't worry. Like I've never worried about him cheating. I've never worried. Me
either.
It's like laughable. Like he
it
just
is.
wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And he's consistent in his words and they align with his actions. And like I couldn't ask for anything better than that. And even with that and him consistently being that, there's always going to be the back of my mind being like, prove it, prove it, prove it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the right person will. The right person that stands by their character and stands by who they are.
Because
doesn't
they love
matter.
you.
They will.
Because they love you. They'll love you for everything that you are and
Yeah.
everything that you will be and everything that you've been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they feel it.
They feel it. Back to it's a feeling, not a choice. We've really run the gamut on this.
We did.
I do love this topic, and I think we could talk about it
Yeah,
more
we
because
could.
obviously love is not just romantic; it's familial.
So many things.
It's platonic. It's all around us, and not to be like cheesy like that, but it is. And we experience it all day, and
in many different ways. Yeah.
So
Well, I shall wrap us up here on this very lighthearted conversation.
we did say it was going to be lighthearted.
But very upbeat. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Everybody experiences love differently, but we generally here think it's a feeling. I think we're coming to that consensus, but like also it is a choice in how you act. We would love to hear what you guys think. Put in the comments. Do you think it's a feeling or a choice? And tell us why. We love to have conversations with everybody. And a woman I look up to and admire is Madison Bellissimo. Every day. I'm so lucky. She's a hard worker. She's driven. She's smart. She's kind. She's beautiful. She is the package. And I am lucky enough to sit next to her. I feel very blessed.
No, I feel that way about you. It was funny that you said, I was like, Ruth's my next one. She's not. I was like, she's not.
We did not plan this.
We didn't. I was like, she's not even ready. But it's true. You're such a genuinely kind, loving, beautiful, inside and out, brilliant person that I am so lucky to know, and a confidant. I look up to you so much. You know, your goals in so many ways to me, and you're also. It's just watching you interact with people. That is one of my favorite things. Like you had talked about the other day of like someone said on set that every time they see you, you like light up a room, and it's true. You do that with everyone. You make everyone feel loved. You make everyone feel special. And oh,
I love
good.
you. That was the goal.
I did say by the end we would be crying, but I love you so much,
you
and I'm
too.
so thankful for us and this, and hopefully all of the other women that we get to interact with. I don't know if this might not premiere during March, but if it does, awesome. If it doesn't, we still love women.
We do consistently.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. We are so glad you are here. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and we will see you next week on Fem Tell All.
Thank you so much.